Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone here today for this press conference at which we'll announce and introduce to the media for the first time Nelson Rodriguez. I'd like to welcome you here, the group here assembled at Toyota Park. I'd like to welcome those of you watching at home, whether it be through chicago-fire.com or our friends, the CSN Chicago and their digital network. On September 20th, the Chicago Fire Soccer Club announced that Nelson Rodriguez would serve as our general manager. I'll have him here to the podium shortly, where he will speak to his plan for the next few months as far as his initial first steps into the future of the technical side of the Chicago Fire. After that, he'll take questions from the room, and then we will break down for one-on-one opportunities. I'd like to also mention that Atul Khosla, the Chief Operating Officer of the Chicago Fire, is here as well. He will also be available for one-on-one interviews at the conclusion of today's press conference. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you the General Manager of the Chicago Fire Soccer Club, Nelson Rodriguez.
Thanks, Sergeant. Keep it down, please. Far too generous. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes of your time to introduce myself. Y bienvenidos a todos. I also ask just for a moment that you indulge me to allow me to express a few thank yous that are really important to me. The first is to Andrew Hauptman. This job is a dream for me. I have always yearned for and wanted this opportunity to run a team and run a club's sporting operations. And this is the first time it's been given to me, and I appreciate his trust and allowing me to fulfill a dream. I also want to thank the fans who have been incredibly warm and giving from the first day that they heard about my announcement and from the first days that I've been in the city. You know, just little things like Sector Latino giving me my first official fire scarf. I find that incredibly touching, and I appreciate it. And I think it speaks to the city, and it speaks to a reason why I'm so excited to be here. I want to thank Atul and the staff, who have also been very welcoming and warm. And I want to thank U.S. Soccer. Sunil Gulati, Dan Flynn, and in particular Jurgen Klinsmann were very, very good to me. They hired me less than a year ago, had big plans for me to work with them in developing a very important programming within U.S. Soccer. Yet when this opportunity came up, and sensing my enthusiasm and zeal to take it, they graciously allowed me to do so and encouraged me to do so and made me feel good in taking it. So I want to thank them. And lastly, I have to thank my family and my wife. You know, a person is only able to pursue their dreams and their careers if they have the support of those closest to them. And in this case, I consider myself an incredibly fortunate man to have an amazing woman by my side and great children and supporting rest of the family. Nobody who gave his best ever regretted it. That quote comes from George Halas, and I think it's incredibly apropos for me. I vow to give my best to this city, to this soccer club. I have found in my career that losing teams and winning teams all have the same mentality. Both. The difference is that winning teams find an excuse to win. And that is one of the first things that we need to work on here with the Fire. We need to find excuses to win. We were going to build this club as a peak performing organization. Peak performing organization was a term and an approach developed by a gentleman named Clive Gilson. And there are 4 P's to being a peak performing organization. The first of which is purpose. You know, why do you do something? And our vision is to be the premier soccer club in Major League Soccer and to embody the spirit of Chicago and the spirit of the sport. And we're going to pursue that vision with great zeal. You know, I like simplicity. And so when I think about our purpose beyond achieving our vision, it's one, to win championships. They keep score. Fans care. We have to win. Two, we have to serve our community. You know, I consider it an honor and a great responsibility. I am a day-to-day custodian of the soccer operations of this club, and I have to honor that. And by being a good neighbor is very important to me. And so we will continue to be active in the community as we have in the past. And lastly, it should be said, we're still a business. So part of this is also about earning profits, and we shouldn't apologize for that. Realizing our purpose and realizing our vision, we need our on-field product to be a physical manifestation of our identity and the pursuit of that vision. And for me, that has to be grounded in positive spirit, in sportsmanship, and we have to embody our core values. On a daily basis, it means excellence every day. So what are those core values that are going to help us? What are the things that I'm going to measure on a daily basis and make sure that we establish our compass of true north and pursue? Well, the first one is competitiveness. We will seek to win at all times, though not at all costs. Honor without victory is a shallow honor in my mind. And so we will conduct ourselves in the highest planes of dignity and sportsmanship. Leadership. You know, we need to seek to set the standards or find them at all times. And we will. And that's what being a leader is. And part of being a leader, in my mind, is serving. And we will preach to our players and to our staff that we are here to serve our greater community and to serve soccer fans around the globe. Excellence is another value that I admire, and we will be relentless in our pursuit of perfection. Perfection is a lofty, lofty goal. I think it's a journey, but we should never stop or yield in trying to achieve it. Accountability and responsibility are critically important. We need to accept all challenges. We need to admit our mistakes, and we need to learn from them so as not to repeat them and become better. We need to respect. We need to respect all of our constituents at all times, and above all, we need to respect the game, as again, we are its servants. And lastly, the last fundamental value that I want to impress upon our soccer operations and the global Chicago family grouping is the sense of family. You know, our mantra going forward is it's our family versus their team. We need to provide a place that's convivial and warm and secure, and we need to provide all of our staff and players the platform to succeed. How are we going to achieve all this? Well, there are three guiding principles that I firmly believe in, that I have tested in my own way and believe them to be true. They are easy to say, easy to recite, easy to remember, but very, very difficult to follow. It takes discipline. The first is do the right things. We know right from wrong. We know what needs to be done, and we need to hold our convictions to achieve those. So do the right things. Secondly, do things right. It's not enough to do the right thing, but not do it in the right way. We must do things right, and we must do the right things. And lastly, we must always give 100%. We cannot, and no individual can ever be at his or her best all the time. But you can always give your best. And we need to make that a staple of our club. Those are the three guiding principles, but there's an attitude behind those principles that we need to follow as well. The first is we need to learn enthusiastically. I believe that everything is a process. Everything is continuous strive for improvement. So we need to learn enthusiastically. We need to admit that we don't have all the answers, and today's success is not guaranteed tomorrow, unless we continue to improve. We need to compete relentlessly. This is a very difficult league. Major League Soccer is the most competitively balanced league in the world, bar none, top to bottom. There are no easy games in Major League Soccer. There are easy games in every other league around the world, because the difference between the top teams and the bottom teams around the world are significant. Not so in Major League Soccer. So we need to be competitors at all times. And lastly, we need to pursue passionately. You know, I have Latin blood, so when you get to know me, I argue with my hands, my voice gets high, and I scream. Hopefully during games, I'm not that way. I'll try to show some decorum. But everything that we do should be done with passion. Soccer is the most passionate of games. It evokes emotions that I think perhaps only family and religion can also evoke. And so passion is a big part of it. One of the other P's in the peak performing organization is potency. And by potency, we talk about emotions. And I've shared this with you already. For me, the emotional connection is it's our family. We will conduct our business as a family. So at times, that means we will not share things. Not to be open and accessible, but to be protective as we need to be. Whenever and however we can be open to the media and our fans, of course we will be. But the final P is the one that everyone cares about the most, which is performance. What are the necessary actions to have sustained success? For me, again, I do things in threes. And just as an aside, I learned the principle of threes. I have 4 children. So Dora the Explorer shared me that, right? She says things in threes. She asks you to repeat them. And then somehow you always remember it's over the enchanted forest, through the mingled woods, to the amazing wizard, right? So most things that I do are in threes. So the first of our priorities is people. For me, it all starts with people. It starts with character. It starts with having the right people in the organization, having the right people on the team, and the right people leading our staff. Our reputation is the most important possession we can ever have. And it is earned by the actions of our team and our staff. So we must provide our team and staff everything that they need to flourish. The second is process. I believe in process. I believe in journeys. And I think the best processes are those that are defined and simple. And ours will have the hallmark of having open and honest communication as we develop those processes. And last, it's our focus. And we should all recognize that our fans are the reason why we exist. And we must provide them with unparalleled service, unique experiences, and lasting memories. And the best way that I know to do that is to give them a soccer team that they will be proud of, a team that reflects them on the field, and a team, quite frankly, that wins. How will we measure whether we've achieved excellence? For me, it starts locally, that we will be recognized as a continuation of being a leading member of our greater community, of being a good neighbor, of serving. Within MLS, I'd like for us to be considered as the new club paradigm, that we have done things slightly differently, that we've taken a plane of sportsmanship and dignity and honor to a new level, that you can win with those values and don't need to get into the gutter and some of the things that have stained the game so much in the past. And globally, I want Chicago Fire to be recognized and heralded for being a winner, for the quality of its soccer, for its social commitment, and for its ability to inspire. I was inspired by sports as a kid. I believe that our athletes and our coaches are and need to be role models, and we will do everything we can to engender pride from those who choose to support us. I'll take a break because I could go on for a long time, but allow to see if you have any immediate questions.
Guys, if you do have a question, just wait for the microphone.
Tim Cronin from AP. I guess the obvious question is, in terms of people, where do you begin? Do you begin with the staff? Do you begin with the roster? And how do you go about doing that?
It's a great question. There is no substitute in my mind for face-to-face communication. So my first official day was Monday. I have a lot of people that I still need to meet. It is my intention to meet with every player in a face-to-face meeting. I've begun to meet most of the sporting staff, though not all, and that will need to continue. At the same time, the first priority is a head coach. And that will always become the single most important decision we make as an organization. And if we are to achieve the level of a program that I look for, that will become, hopefully over time, the face of the institution as well. So it will be a lot of face-to-face meetings. I'm a question guy. I always have a lot of questions. My wife gets frustrated at that because when I attended meetings and all, she knew it was going to last a half hour longer because I was always going to have questions. But that's how we'll start. And it's a lesson that I learned from Arrigo Sacchi in 1994. I was lucky enough to work the World Cup that year, and I was very fortunate to be granted 10 minutes with him. And I asked him if he minded if I asked him a question. He graciously said yes, and I said, "How did you choose your team?" I was really curious what the thinking was behind the makeup of his 23-man roster. And he said to me very simply, first the man and then the player. And I have taken that with me always. The character of the individuals we have to have are of a certain ilk, and we cannot compromise on that, no matter how talented they may be.
Jacek Zieliński, Polish Radio. I got the question. You said many things about values, about character. Could you try give us some name if we're talking about head coach at this moment? Because I believe that there is no time to lose. Looking for new head coach, and plus new players, because that even the best head coach without players is not gonna do anything.
I'll start. Unfortunately, I don't think it's appropriate to share names. I don't think it's fair to the candidates, and I don't think it's fair to the process. I came into the process with a list of names and with some ideas. I will tell you that I may have been slightly naive in that. The solicitations that we've received from people interested in this position is nearly overwhelming. And the international caliber and standard of candidates who've expressed interest has surprised me. I think it speaks to how Chicago Fire is actually seen worldwide as a desirable destination for the best. In terms of characteristics of the coach that we seek, I'll share some of them. I will withhold some, but I'll tell you why I withhold some. There are certain things that are really important to me that I want to make sure a candidate is expressing genuinely and not because he heard it attached and he's trying to feed me something that I want to hear. But the ability to teach, I think, is really important in Major League Soccer. I think we have a lot of players who need to improve on a daily basis. And so I think that that is critical. I think familiarity with the league is important. That is not to say that an international candidate could not be considered or is unaware, but historically it has shown that familiarity with MLS is an essential ingredient to success. So those would be some of the characteristics that I look for. With regards to players, the second part of your question, I actually think it would be irresponsible for me to start to make player decisions, whether acquisitions or changes to the current roster, without a head coach. The only thing that will deviate us from that timing is if there are league-mandated deadlines that we have to meet and we don't have a coach in place by those, then we'll have to make those decisions, and I'll make those decisions with the input of the staff around me, and those will be my decisions to make. The timing goal in an ideal world would be to have a head coach in place in market before Thanksgiving. Having said that, it's about getting it right, not getting it fast. And so we will work to get this right, however long or short that takes. We also won't drag out the process. If we believe we have the right candidate, if we believe we've vetted a good enough candidate pool to feel great about an individual, and they're ready and we're ready, then we'll lock that up.
Hi, Ness. Guillermo Rivera, Chicago Now, Fire Confidential. Brian Bliss has mentioned that he's interested in the coaching position or the technical director's position, staying on there. What is your outline for a hierarchy of on the technical staff? As a general manager, do you still see a technical director's position serving a purpose, and how involved are you going to be in player personnel decisions?
Thank you, Guillermo. A few good questions. First, Brian is a candidate, and Brian and I have had only preliminary conversations, and that's because Brian's had a very difficult job the last few weeks managing the team, and I wanted to give him the time and space to concentrate on that. I'll also say I've known Brian for many years, and Brian's a good man, and he's a good soccer man as well. In terms of organizational structure, first it goes back to people again. So first, I want to find the right people, people who will complement my skill set, people who will complement my way of thinking with other ways. Do I foresee a technical director position? Yeah, I can see that. It's not an absolute. We may shape and tweak things differently. Today's focus is on the first team, but soccer operations goes well beyond that. We have to better integrate our academy. We have to better integrate all of our Chicago Fire's juniors programs. I think we have more to give our community in terms of helping with soccer environments. So it's possible that we'll have a technical director position. It might take a different form. I don't know yet. I'm open-minded enough to allow exploration and exchange of thought to help me crystallize my ideas.
Joe Casentino from thetunnel.com. Do you have a vision on how quick or goals you have to get the team back into relevancy? Or right now, the window of relevancy is rather closed rather sharply. The major newspapers are not here. I don't know if they're here now, but I mean, do you have a kind of a goals or how quick you want this all to turn around?
Look, like anybody else, we want to win MLS Cup next year, right? And that's what a competitor, I think, should think and should behave. What I'll say is one of the challenges of Major League Soccer is one of its virtues also. So if you're smart and you have a good plan and you have good people, you can move things in an opposite direction very quickly. Now, Red Bull had very good success the last few years, yet they drastically changed their approach and have maintained their success. I think, again, that's a credit to their people, their process, and their way. I'm not sure that this team is far off. With respect to all those who came before, I think that there is an opportunity to make pretty significant improvement with just the group we have. Do I believe the current group in and of itself is championship caliber? No, I don't. And so I think there are other parts and pieces that we need to incorporate. However, while I have those views, the input of the coach will be vital. Because one coach looks at a player and sees a spare part, and another coach looks at that same player and sees a starter or a star. So we have to get our coach in place to make those evaluations. Well, Jeff, I can't say that I know for certain what they were, because Andrew didn't give me the specifics as much as he said he just recognized in reviewing his notes, which, again, to me is why I think Andrew's a great owner, why I want to work with him. That there's a tremendous sense of humility in his admission of that. One thing I think might have been there is I don't believe the head coach should be the czar of soccer. And so perhaps that has contributed to this structural change. I think the demands on a head coach are so great in Major League Soccer today that that person's focus has to be 3 points on the weekend. And that's it. They can contribute or lend a voice into other areas, but they have got to be dedicated to getting that core group of in the locker room right, their starters right, getting it all prepared. So that might be one of the things, and that is something that I very strongly believe in. You know, I'm a try to be a student of sports and success in sports and failures in sports. And, you know, people like Bill Belichick and Greg Popovich, they are so rare. Yet everyone seems to think they're getting the next one. They're getting that guy who can be the coach and can handle player personnel and can handle contract negotiations and the media and the fans. And boy, they're just, and even those two gentlemen weren't that on day one. They evolved into that. So I am a believer that there needs to be checks and balances. I don't believe it's my role to tell the coach what 11 players to play, what players to choose. I believe it's my role to support him, to challenge his decision-making and his thought process at all times. But some of those decisions, all of those decisions need to be up to him.
Do you have any other questions?
Nelson, you mentioned yesterday that you were going to take into account what it would take to put together a USL side going forward. Do you think it's important for MLS teams to institute a USL side? Do you think teams can get along just as well with a partner such as St. Louis FC?
I believe there's more than one model that can be successful. Look, as a soccer nation, we need a robust pyramid that's filled out through the second division, the third division, academies, amateur ball, youth, and all the rest of it. But I don't believe there's ever a singular model or way to success. We have to find what works for us, and we have to do so in a way that understands how it works for us today best, but understanding how we will need to evolve it over time to remain current, relevant, and even that's really not enough for me. I always would like to be ahead of the curve or catching the wave before anyone else realizes it's in play.
One more question. You said before that you're not going to mention any name, but maybe I can ask on a different way. It's anybody who used to play or coach for Chicago Fire is on the list who's supposed to be next head coach?
It's a very clever attempt to get information. What I will say is we have a deep pool of candidates. We're only in the initial stages. Obviously, I didn't interview anyone and speak to anyone prior to October 19th. I thought that would be wrong to U.S. soccer and inappropriate. So we started that process this week. I am confident that we will secure the best coach for this club. And I'll just take this moment to say this. I think that there will be several really, really good coaches that we will interview and that will be available to us, but whom we may not select because they might not be right, in my estimation, for what we need today.
Nelson, there's been a fairly vocal amount of discontent with the supporters, between the supporters and the club this year. Where do you see yourself fitting in and trying to kind of restore some of that and maybe fix the relationship that is going on and that is currently in place between the supporters and the club?
Well, yeah, I'm aware that there's been some friction, but that doesn't surprise me. That happens at every club in the world, particularly those clubs that have not enjoyed on-field success. And it's 5 out of the last 6 years out of the playoffs. These are proud and loyal fans. And I know every market says that, but I have just been amazed just when I say, who's your team? And they say the Fire, and I say, no, well, who's your team in Poland? And they say the Fire. And I'm like, oh, come on, who do you root for during the World Cup? And they say the Fire. I don't encounter that everywhere else across major league cities, and I've been to all the major league cities. What is my role? First, we have to win games. We win games, we gain back some credibility. That's what they're most interested in. And they also want to believe that it is being done in a proper way. And Building a championship team is really, really hard. And it's not even what my goal is. I want to build a championship program. I want people to think of the Chicago Fire the way they view the University of Alabama football, the way they view the San Antonio Spurs, the way they view Duke basketball. Those teams win all the time, and then they sprinkle in championships. Do you know the St. Louis Cardinals, since the early 1900s, no person born in St. Louis has gone 25 years without a title. That's unbelievable to me. And that is a renewable source of fandom when you win. That's what we need to be after.
All right, if there's no other questions, if you do have a follow-up or something you'd like to ask one-on-one, we'd ask you to queue over on this side of the room. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you all.